Good morning. Today I have the pleasure to be with the Dr. Hau Lee, Thomas Professor of Operation, Information and Technology from Stanford University. We are going to have a short interview about his presentation, Creating Value with Supply Chain Excellence. Good morning, Mr. Dr. Lee. How are you?
Good morning. Very well. Thank you.
The first question is, Mr. Lee, you mentioned there are three kinds of value creating evolution. It is possible for a company to have two or three of evolution in the not possible. Is there any sequence or path for a company to follow?
I think a lot of companies usually would set up a vision, a journey, on how they go about creating values using their supply chain. And they oftentimes would have to start with building the foundation. And I call it the foundation is process excellence. So process excellence itself will allow you to create values, but it's the foundation, it's the first step. Then, depending on the maturity of the companies or depending sometimes on the competitive threats, some companies would accelerate and move on to build scale as well as creating new solutions, transforming their business solutions using the supply chain. Some may do it one step at a time, but all of them, what I found is that you must start with building process excellence, because if you do not have that good foundation in place and you try to transform your business, it's very likely that you would fail or disappoint customers with the new solutions.
Okay. In agile and reliable supply chain, what kind of practice of the company needs to develop?
So for agility and reliability, I think companies all need to have a very good information systems as a foundation. Information allows you to know where things are, what problems have arisen, and how do you intervene at the right time, and what the customer's needs are, and where your supplies are. So I would say informations, measurements, metrics, and then empowerment of the people so that the people know what responsibility that they have, quality, kind of a Six Sigma type of process. So all these are good, solid steps to build agility and reliability.
Okay. Some years ago, the internet appeared as a silver bullet in any kind of problem. What is the role for internet-based channel now?
Yes. I think most of the application of the internet in business has been on process excellence, so that they use the internet to maybe enable them to retrieve information better, to get more accurate information, to have more visibility, to send purchase order faster or invoicing more efficient. So I would say most of the good internet application has been process excellence. But that is not the true power of the internet. The true power of the internet is how the internet enabled companies to sell things that they were not able to sell before. They were able to open new channels, new business models, like the Netflix model, which is a different kind of model for people to rent videos. And I think we are beginning to see more and more of these type of business transformation using the internet. So the internet failed in the first round is mainly because people were not truly making the internet as a way to create new solutions. It was only a means to improve the existing process where the process has not changed.
Okay. The case you present in the same case, it seems the evolution not depend on the type of market, product, or even a country. What are the main constraints to transform any business?
Yes, I think in the case of Cemex, it's a great company that is expanding very fast. And when they expand into new markets and in acquiring new companies, I think the number one challenge that they have is whether the companies that they acquire, the people that they acquired, will also share the same vision and the culture of the company. Do they also share the values that Cemex has, that they would go through process excellence and leveraging scale and then also business transformations? So I think that's the biggest constraint, is that I believe that Cemex has a great culture already and has good people foundation-wise and good systems in place. And it's more, I think, in the expansion that becomes a big challenge to the company, because acquiring a company that was not used to doing ways the same way as Cemex in a very sometimes overseas market, that is going to be a challenge. Now, having said that, I think Cemex has done a very good job in the past few years. I know that any time when they acquire a new company, they really spend a lot of efforts to try to unify the culture of the new company. So I think they recognize the challenge, at the same time, they are managing it well.
In the Netafim case, which is a solution provider, what are your recommendations for getting a better understanding of our market for a company?
I think the key is that oftentimes companies thought that they have a product which is very powerful, and they expected their customers to want it. The customers would embrace it. And it's a common mistake or pitfall that a lot of the technology companies have, thinking that I'm creating the new version of, a new version of Office products or new chips, so the customers should love it. So what we need is to get to the level of the customers, and then get into the mind of the customer, and think about, if I am the customers, do I need this product, or how would I like the product to be? I think in the case of Netafim, what they were able to do is to get into the mind of the farmers. But these farmers are poor farmers, and many of them are in Pakistan, in India, in Israel, in Afghanistan. And some farmers are educated, some farmers are not. And so you have to get into the mind of those customers, and then you can see what they need. What they need is not the best equipment. What they need is somebody to help them so as to use the equipment. I think that is the difference. Is to get into the mind of the customers, lower yourself to the level of the customers, think from the perspective of the customers, and then you come up with solutions that you may not have thought about before.
Okay, what is the new competence the managers in supply chain needs to for this transformation? I mean, to manage more SKUs, more channels. What kind of competence do they need to develop?
Well, I think these days the supply chain executives needs three new kind of, I would say, core competencies that they used to maybe not as emphasized as high. So the first one is that it must be customer-centric. So as I mentioned earlier, you must get into the mindset of the customers to find out what the customers truly need, truly appreciate. So customer-centric focus is a must. The second one is that we are in a global economy. And regardless of whether you are operating purely in Mexico or in China, inevitably, one of your suppliers will be outside of the country, more probably. And then your customers may also be outside your country. And so it's very few situations where you can be domestically contained, which means that increasingly supply chain executives need to be global in their mindset, understanding the tricky part of managing a global supply chain. So that's the second one. The third one is that we have to learn to be adaptive. Because when you started business transformations, Netafim did not figure out the right solution on day one. And they have to maybe make mistakes, but they must learn and adapt. Like POSCO, the company that I also use in my talk, is a very good steel manufacturer in the old days of integrated manufacturing. But now they recognize the world has changed, and so they abandoned their core competency and break the factory up into two parts to have one near the source of iron ore and the other one near the customers, so breaking things apart. So that's an adaptive capability. You need to be adaptive because the world is changing rapidly.
Thank you very much, Dr. Lee. Do you have another additional comment?
Well, I must say that it's amazing if I look at a company like Cemex that is a very successful company, and yet the company's root is in Mexico, so that they are not afraid to say, well, Mexico maybe is not as well advanced as in the US or Germany and France, but that's okay. We use Mexico's challenging environment to innovate, to transform, to learn. Then the lessons can then be used elsewhere. So it means that innovations is not limited to well-established economy. Innovations can happen in all emerging economies. And that is really similar to what Tom Friedman says, the world is flat.
Okay, right. Okay. Thank you very much, Dr. Lee.